Hello and thank you for listening to Dragon Wagon Radio. My name is Jake Lloyd Bacon, co-founder of the network, just popping in briefly because it is that time of the year once again. March 2024 marks the 7-year anniversary of Dragon Wagon Radio. For 7 years, we've done the best we can to bring you the most professional podcasts possible. We continue to cultivate communities of people from all over the world, bonded by their love for a wide variety of topics. Dragon Wagon has produced 20 different podcasts, over 1,800 individual episodes with millions of downloads, all completely free to you. So we humbly ask, in honor of our 7th anniversary, that you consider showing your support and playing a part in keeping our shows free always. There are tons of ways that you can help. First and foremost, please check out our shop at dragonwagonshop.com. A fantastic collection of high-quality merchandise is available to you for reasonable prices. You can also visit our support page where you can find a link to make a donation directly and even an Amazon wish list. That's at dragonwagon.com/support. Some of our shows have individual Patreon accounts where they offer additional material. Please consider becoming monthly patrons if that's available. Additionally, leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify costs you absolutely nothing and goes a really long way to help. Lastly, consider sharing your favorite podcast with your friends. Share clips or quotes on social media. Most shows have their own accounts, but you can also follow at It's Dragon Wagon on all major social media platforms. So thanks again for another fantastic year, for being a dedicated listener, and as always, for being the best part of Dragon Wagon Radio. Happy anniversary, and here's to another great year of your favorite indie podcast network. Now let's get this show started.
Welcome to a very special episode of Coycast. I am your 4-year tenured host, Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people, joined by 4-year producer, 3.25-year co-host, Jake Lloyd Bacon, who wisely accepted this show wouldn't work as a monologue. How you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing good. I like the confidence that you consider yourself tenured.
I feel professorial because, I came in like this is like graduated high school, but no, we're experts in the field of making stuff up as we go along, and that makes us tenured.
Yes, happy anniversary, Coy. It's been 4 years. It's
what a specific 4 years.
It's a very big, yeah. It's a big week for all sorts of celebrations here. Also, like technically, last week was the actual 4-year to the date, but we didn't have a show last week, so
we didn't have a show.
So instead of doing it early, that doesn't count because then it's not your anniversary yet. Then you're celebrating 3 years and 51 weeks, and that's not.
It's way better to have a belated anniversary than early. Like
this is the next show, so this is it. But it's also a big week because it's the 7-year anniversary of Dragon Wagon Radio as a network. 7-year birthday for the Pod Dog Campfire Jones today, as we're recording. Pod Dog turned 7.
Big things happening. Pod Dog from all the way in New York, just hating my guts, just ruining the day I existed.
He's only becoming more cranky with age.
That does not surprise me in the least. Oh, I'd actually be more upset if he got like really sweet.
Right, I was gonna say he is my son after all.
That's true. The curmudgeon is strong in this one. It is our 4-year anniversary. We started this right before the world stopped. If you guys are new-ish to the pod or weren't there from the very beginning, when we started, the world was spinning, and we thought we'd do pop culture news nigh exclusively. And then suddenly, within 2 weeks of the show, it was like, this is going to be a little shuffle. And then,
March 4th,
my God.
March 4th, 2020, I think, might have been the first episode, 4th.
Yeah, I think we recorded like the very end of February and tweaked it. So this right now, 4 years ago, was the last normal week of our lives.
You think it was our fault?
I think we didn't help.
You think COVID was our fault? Did we cause
if
that?
There was like a monkey paw situation, like we didn't help. Like I can't. we're not important enough to take credit, but we're not unimportant enough to take blame.
Listen, I don't necessarily believe in a higher power. I know you just think we're all running around a simulation. But like,
there's too much math, Jake. There's too much math.
It does seem like we started a podcast and then something out there in the universe went, you know what? Let's kill a whole shit ton of people.
Let's make sure it's an unpleasant journey for them. Like, what a crazy 4 years. Like, this episode, we're going to be talking to our co-hosts, the people themselves. We're going to be listening to call-ins a lot. But, like, from our perspective, what are some moments that you remember from the last 4 years?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know. I look back fondly at the more obscure and ridiculous Hotline games. I think the Hotline's my favorite just because it's, so
interactive.
It's interactive, and it's like, we're mining the listeners directly. So some of the Hotline games have been really fun. I've also, I think one of my highlights was probably Todd McFarlane's interview.
That was cool.
Just because, of all the people on the program, he's the one that I'm like, oh, that's that guy's pinnacle to my interest in the industry as a whole, and what kept me in it as a teenager. Those are probably some of my highlights. But I mean, it's been so many. I mean, the DC cards.
Oh, what an insane journey that was.
That was a lot of fun.
Speaking of Todd McFarlane, I do want to say, early days, but we might be teaming up with Dynamite Comics for some stuff, and maybe sitting down with Greg Weisman, who invented gargoyles.
Yeah.
Like literally one of the voices of my childhood, along with like the voice himself, who I just interviewed, and MegaCon. It was really funny talking about gargoyles, and then like this whole started to come together. So Dynamite has some really cool stuff right now, between the IP stuff like gargoyles and James Bond, but also some stuff that I think is like really good gateway comics for comic fans. So that might be what we do, the kickoff going into our 5th year. So I just wanted to let the audience know there's some really cool Dynamite stuff, and especially if you have young comic readers. I was the most surprised by Lilo and Stitch. I'm not like the biggest Lilo and Stitch movie guy. I think it's fine. Like, it's good, like it's just, to me, it's not above average good Disney. It's just like, this is when Disney is good. But I have friends that like my publicist's dog is named Stitch. Like, people love Lilo and Stitch. I think I like the comic so far more than the movie. And like, that doesn't happen. Like, it's rare that an adaptation in a different medium transcends the original, because you just have nostalgia for the original from 15 years ago. So Dynamite not only has like adult stuff like Bond, but nostalgia stuff like Gargoyles and kid stuff like Lilo and Stitch. So just wanted to give Dynamite some love, as we might be cooking up some interviews with them. Nice. But the Todd one for me was definitely, that's when this felt like, oh, I'm used to video. This is audio. Oh, but that's Todd McFarlane. This is an interview. Like, I'm so used to seeing someone in front of me. It felt like a radio show. It felt like when I listened to radio in the car, I was like, oh, I'm the one talking.
And that's, that was my big struggle when the show started, was trying to get you to do a podcast and not a YouTube channel. Because you don't need to listen. You don't have to smash the like button. You don't have to do that at all. I mean, you can leave a rating and review. That's nice, but you don't need to smash.
Does help.
There's zero smashing involved in being a listener.
Do I have to make a silly face for the thumbnail? Good God. But I think for me, the 4 years, I gotta give love to like the behind the scenes stuff. I think for me, like you and I getting sandwiches and just being so vexed at the world, and like there was always, we'd talk for like 3 hours, because we used to record like 5 to 6 hour recordings. And so about 4 hours in, we'd take a break and get sandwiches, and there'd be times where it'd be like, yay, news, and other times where we'd be like existentially staring into the middle distance, just eating delicious sandwiches together. That was a highlight for me.
There's also something to be said about the fact that because of the show, you and I were like COVID bubbles. Like we were, you were
like the third person I saw, period.
That was it. Because it was like, all right, if we're both secluding ourselves from every other person, I mean, Alexandra and I went absolutely nowhere, saw no other person. You were the one. You were the like, okay,
outlier.
Coy's gonna come over still. We're gonna do the pod. Everything else is remote. Everything else is secluded. And so like, I feel like when I think back to the actual pandemic in the thick of it, I'm like, oh yeah, we survived that with Coy. Like, it's like it was just like,
and like, I also was thinking the whole time, like, I can't make dumb decisions for 100 reasons, but when I found out I was the only one coming in her house, I was like, there are no variables but my dumbass. Like, it actually helped me be accountable to me of like, no, I shouldn't go to the store today. Like, I should just like, it was really funny thinking like 10 days out from recording at all times.
Yeah, it was a strange time.
What a weird 4 years. Like, the 4 years we did this is so specifically strange. Like, just thinking about the strike, thinking about obviously the 2 years of pure insanity with that, thinking about like right now it's been award season for what feels like years because award season felt so stretched out because of the strike, and now it's over, and it's like, okay, this finally feels like something new. Post-strike, post-award season. According to the CDC, you get COVID, you lick your neighbor. Like, we're living in a new time. So it's really interesting how many chapters Coycast has had. Like, they feel like definitively different every time. Right.
Yeah, it does seem like there are eras. We have eras.
The card era.
It's like pro wrestling. It's like pro wrestling where it's like, all right, there's like the golden era and then the new generation and then the attitude era. It's like, no, we had different eras. And well,
it's like comic books. We're like golden, silver, bronze, modern.
We're currently in our remote era.
We are cross country. You went
from being the only person that I see during a pandemic to now doing what everybody else was doing during that pandemic.
Cross country with time differences. I've turned into every other host in 2020, 2021 right now. Yeah,
we went back. We went in the wrong direction, I think.
How is New York?
How is New York? It's getting spring-like, and you know what? Don't like it. Nope. I want more snow. I want more winter weather. I'm not about the transition to spring. I feel like
that is the most Campfire Jones turned 7 curmudgeonly. You're like, it's too bright and cheery.
No, it came and went too quick. That's the thing is I was like, we're only only going to be here for the one winter, and it's like,
oh, I see.
I was like,
spring is a little bit more like what we always have.
I wanted to I've lived in spring. I've lived in spring for 20 years. Spring and summer are the only 2 seasons I've lived in for 20 years between Florida and LA and Vegas and LA. But anyways, no, all is well. Listen, I try to keep kind of some of the personal stuff we're going through close to the vest these days, just because it's not my business to share. But I'm taking advantage of being near family as much as possible. Aside from all the other celebrations, it's my birthday this week. And just a couple of days
I was waiting
here.
for that. That was what I was actually prodding for, because that's another anniversary.
And so it's nice. This is the first time I'll get to see like my cousin, who's like my little brother, on my birthday in 20. It's literally been 20 years. 2000.
Dude, that's so special.
2004 was the last time that I was in New York on my birthday. And so it's been 20 years to the day, literally. So like, I'm taking advantage of it as best as I can and trying to keep.
That's really special.
That's the positive mindset as possible.
That's that curmudgeon optimism. Well, speaking of curmudgeon optimism, after the strikes, we had the Oscars. We're not going to talk much about it because I know Jake isn't the biggest award show guy, but there were some highlights. I think he enjoyed I'm Just Ken as much as anyone. That was special.
I did watch that. I thoroughly enjoyed Slash showing up. I mean, like, his commitment was great. I loved everybody being excited. It was like one of those things where it was like everybody this is the thing that, listen, we can talk all about our highfalutin, highbrow dramas and all of our cinema trademark. Do you know what I mean? But there's something about...
But when Martin Scorsese gets up and dances with a guy in pink singing,
there's something about... Yes, exactly. How every highfalutin fucking award-chasing piece of shit in that place
stood up like everyone else.
Was a fan. They were... Yeah. It was so much fun. And I don't know, that to me is I think that was an important moment in Oscar history.
It brought us together. Like you're saying, it like really was a universal beloved thing. Like, I didn't hear a single person say, because if they did, they're the weirdo. Like, it was so the thing of the night. And I really love that they did some homages to old cinema. Like, it was a Gentlemen Prefer Blondes homage. Like, he was dressed in pink like Marilyn Monroe was in that, and the backup dancers were dressed like the backup dancers in the Monroe movie. I really like that it was like a love letter to obviously the spirit of movies, but at the Oscars they gave some classic movies some love. I thought that was very Oscar-y of them to change their performance a little bit. And I also really enjoyed that like Simu Liu and
That they were just dancing.
That they were dancing
just
and
there.
like the biggest smiles. Like I like that like the A-listers in the movie were backup dancers as it would be. Like in canon, the dance was amazing.
When they said, now to perform this, it's him and the cast of Barbie, I thought like, oh, that's fun. I wasn't expecting nobody else
Kingsley
to sing.
Benadire being like, that guy is up for, like, he's Bob Marley in theaters right now.
Just
like he was
there to be a background dancer, essentially.
Which means he did weeks of training. Like, I love that they were able to get, like, these actors that are on giant movies to take weeks to learn that dance in that space. So that was a highlight for me. I'm happy for Oppenheimer. I have a lot of people in that cast. But one of the things I really was reluctant to share it, but it felt like a life moment for me. And I'm more and more, I'm trying to not think about my social media as like, what would blank. I'm trying to be like, what would I want to read? Or like, what do I want to remember when I look at like the documents of this?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of become like what do I want my open journal to be? And one of the big things for me this Oscars was, this was the first Oscars where I had multiple, like a bunch of people to text that either won or were on stage. Yeah. And I was like, is this name dropping? No, I'm not naming anyone, but it's also really special to me because this is what I dreamt of getting an Oscar. Like, this is what I wanted as a kid. And though that didn't happen, this was like, I was so happy for the people without any of it being about me. So I was like, do I share and make this about me? But like, I wanted the put it out in the universe, like how cool it is to see your friend succeed on the global scale. Like what it's like to see people do the 1-1-1-1, like the top of the iceberg.
Right.
So it was really special for me because I had a lot of people get recognized, and that's like insane to see that scale. And maybe that's why I'm less cynical about it, is like, I'm just proud.
Well, and don't get me wrong, like it's as much as I don't hate the Oscars because they are like inherently evil or dumb. I think the
Fox News.
The problem is that it's capitalism has ruined this other thing now. Like, and that's my viewpoint on it. Also, I just have a big issue with separating things male to female. I just think that's fucking absurd still in 2024.
How would you have, like, would you just have 10 nominees of actor and only one winner? Like,
yes, 100%. Yes.
But then there's only one winner.
So why?
So like half the people win.
The argue is, but if there is no difference between a man's performance and a woman's performance and a person who's fucking gender fluid's performance, what does it matter that there are less people? Like, if that's the case, then just have like, best actor version A and best actor version B. And like, it's all arbitrary. This is the point I'm making, is like, if you're just saying, I like there's more categories because there's more winners, well, then let's create an additional category. Let's create all the fucking categories we want, and then it's irrelevant anyway.
Junior varsity Oscar and varsity Oscar goes to.
It's
second best actor.
I'm not saying that I have the absolute answer for it, but it doesn't mean I'm not allowed to acknowledge that it's a problem, But with all that said, I was getting to a point here. Despite all of that, like, it's still like a big deal. Like, an Oscar is, not cheap. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody wins an Oscar without spending money winning an Oscar.
Yeah, like a political campaign.
It's very rare. The Glenn Hansard, Marquita Irglovas of the world, that's a rare occurrence. It's not usually like the small little tiny indie,
Godzilla -1 though.
And again, that's the real, but the reality is,
I think that's
still,
the new exception.
Yes,
like, we can mention a modern exception.
And technical awards. It's all technical awards.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, but anyways, I digress. The whole point I'm trying to say is it's still a big deal. And yes, if you have people that that are in your community,
I'm just so proud. Like, it's so special.
And it's also, it's like unbelievable in a way. It's like, oh my God, that when you're young and you grow up, you think of like an Oscar winner or an Oscar nominee.
Removed.
Yeah, that's not a real person. And now it's a real person that I've like sat and had a drink with. Do you know what I mean?
I woke up and like, I came out and I was looking at my pillows. And like, when I moved to LA, I got these pillows within the first like 6 months, and they grew. Like, I had 2 and now I have like 8.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that this morning. I'm when I first moved to LA.
For the listeners, because you're, again,
sorry.
Not a fucking video podcast. 4 goddamn years. How many times do I have to explain to you? You can't do visual things for the listeners. You know what? I quit. Everybody, it was a good 4 years. Goodbye. Thank you and good night.
From Coycast.
He has
I have
pillows
Civil War pillows
that look,
actors.
they're like actors, but you know those photos that are really popular where it's like, oh, you can make your pet look like an old general. And so it's like a fake, like old military uniform of all, it's like a nationally generic military uniform.
Yeah.
And it looks like an old painting.
I have that of like Matt Damon, Hugh Jackman,
Yes.
Brad Pitt, Downey Jr. So
Yes.
I've got a bunch of those.
Right.
And I woke up this morning and I was thinking about how when I moved to LA, these people were like not people to me. They were something else. Like they were so removed I wouldn't ever know them. And then like these are the people that were the big. Some of them still are. But when I moved out here, and then like last night I was texting people that were on the stage that these people would be my awareness of, and I was like, I feel almost like I might get rid of these when I move because like it feels odd to have now. Whereas then it felt like, oh, I'm respecting pop culture. Now I'm like, these are people that I'm.
That's the wrong move. The wrong move is not to get rid of those. It's to replace them and make them only your friends.
And then when they come over, make sure they're positioned up front.
That's the move. The move is not to get rid of those people. It's to replace those people with the
people
new
I
version
know.
of them.
Making my friends uncomfortable.
Yes. No. Celebrating them. By creating a pillow that you fart on occasionally.
Yes, by leaning against them while I watch their work. But yeah, the Oscars last night, I thought it was one of the better. I didn't like Jimmy Kimmel hosting as much as I used to, but I definitely thought it was one of the better Oscars. I thought his monologue was kind of weak.
I didn't see it, but how has John Mulaney not hosted an Oscars at this point?
He did the best 2 minutes of the night. Like his time on stage, immaculate.
I just saw that he made
an
a
audition.
joke. I also just saw that he made a joke about Madam Web. That's what I saw on the internet.
He made an amazing Madam Web joke and an immaculate Field of Dreams joke, like a very long form Field of Dreams joke.
I feel like he is the closest thing to Billy Crystal we have now.
Even tonally.
Like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, because he's like he's like a remnant of old time Hollywood.
He sounds like it. Like it's perfect. Like he's got that. Yeah. Like I agree. Co-signed. It felt like a slight audition for it. I'd like that. Like please and thank you.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer killed it. It was good to see Downey Jr. win after this being his third nom. Felt like a combination of a legacy win and an actual great performance. Like it didn't feel like one or the other. It definitely felt like they both buoyed each other.
Sure.
I really, really liked some of the speeches last night. I thought they were like well handled. I'm so happy for -1. I had a weird thing with Boy and the Heron because it's the first Miyazaki movie I didn't enjoy, and it won over Spider-Verse. But that's just my personal bias. Right. But overall, like I'm super happy with the winners.
Have they won before, that team?
I think for Spirited Away.
Oh, okay. I didn't know because
it's his last. It could be a legacy win.
It feels to me like, speaking of Billy Crystal, it seems like the Jack Palance, where it's like
you came out of retirement doing a last thing.
Like City Slickers was not even in the top 10 of how good your performances have been through your life.
But we want to love you.
But you need an Oscar before you're not around anymore. And so like that's kind of what I thought maybe it was if that team hasn't won or he hasn't won. But I digress.
Jack Palance is one arm push-ups with Billy Crystal.
You know what?
Like that was.
You know what? There you go. That's my connection. So anytime I'm a shitty cynic for the Oscars, you'll
remember Jack Palance.
No, you can throw this in my face. No. I have said this time and time again that you know my love for Billy Crystal is immense, and I think that man is just a godsend, and he's given us so much more than people will ever realize, and influenced so much more of pop culture people realize. I want to be the Billy Crystal to Billy Crystal that he was to Jack Palance. I want to get Billy Crystal an Oscar. I don't give a shit about the Oscars, but I would love to, write or direct something for Billy with Billy that gets him that award, because he has it.
I love that goal.
He has it in him. He is an incredible actor. He's more than deserving of it, even if it is a small supporting actor role.
In order to set him up, the role being worthy. Yeah, I agree. I like that.
Anyway, so you can always throw that in my face whenever I'm like, fuck the Oscars. You can always be like,
Oscars, but I've got a goal.
Yeah, but you still want Billy to win one. I'm like, I do want him to win one.
That one will matter. All right, well, that is going to do it for our Oscar talk. I will probably be tweeting a bit more, but otherwise, I feel like it's kind of nice to have award season over because that means the year can begin.
Yeah, you mean Xing more.
Oh, I'm obviously Xing. I'm sharing X posts, not tweeting.
You got to get on Threads. I think
if studios cared about them, I only use social media for money. Like it's only like if I liked social media, I'd get on Threads or Blue Sky. but it's really just numbers that studios look at so I can profit.
Capitalism.
I want to buy a house, and I like vinyl too much to do anything for free, Jake.
Right.
I like money.
We got a shit ton of hotline calls. Want to take some?
Let's get them. Who we got?
Hey, what's the hotline number again if people want to call?
617-522-8136.
Is that the right number? I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
No, it's definitely not.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that to people. This is such bad business.
I literally just said numbers. Like, I don't think any of those, I don't even know if that was the right amount of numbers to say.
Oh my God. You know what? You're really pushing the fucking limits today, Coy.
I'm really making sure the 4-year anniversary is memorable for Jake specifically. It's 818-794-0722 in a non-joking way. If you ever want to call in and be our co-host, 818-794-0722. Let's hear some calls.
Hey, Coy. Hey, Jake. This is Doug Chiarello, Duger13 in the Discord and online. Happy 4-year anniversary to Coycast. The show has been such a success, and I hope that you are both proud of what you have built and the community that we share and the laughs and games and comics love that you both bring to each and every episode. I was thinking about writing you another parody song or to call in as good old Vito Pepitone from Deep August, but instead I just wanted to send a very sincere call of congratulations and thanks and appreciation for all that you do. Very happy birthday to Campfire Jones and producer Jake and to the entirety of Dragon Wagon Radio. Here's to another 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Congrats, guys. Love ya. Bye.
Duger.
Pepitone might not have left a song, but he left a great big swelling of my heart.
Yeah. You know what? You earlier asked me of a highlight from the past 4 years. Definitely some of the Duger tunes. Duger, he always commits. He is a champion of the community, if I might say so. And man, we really appreciate you. Really, really kind words.
Yeah, and Duger's also one of the people that like has helped my collection in a really personal. Like, I love that we built a community where like we've gotten each other into different comics and like the audience into comics, and they've gotten us into some stuff. And I think of him with that too. And there's been quite a number of the Coycast folk that have like showed me stuff, and that's always special to have that like reciprocity.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. Also, by the way, speaking of, this is just a little unrelated, but it made me laugh. Alexandra has recently gotten big into color seasons, like the clothing colors that you should wear for your skin tone, your hair tone. Yeah. And like, she's like gotten really deep into it. And, the other day she was like, do you know that you dress like perfectly for your color season? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She told me all about it. She's like, so I was looking at this and I read this and I was looking at this. And she's like, I saw this chart and I was trying to figure out what yours was. And I was looking at like all of the colors and like, that's everything you wear. And I was like, well, what's my color season? And man, when I tell you it was this close, she says to me, oh, your color season? You're a deep autumn. And I was like, oh man. I was like, Deep Autumn. I was like, Deep Autumn is the band that Pepitone, when they like Deep August like splits up and he likes the deep part of the name, you know? And
wants it to sound similar.
Yeah,
so he
yeah.
does the spin-off
So he
band.
starts Deep Autumn, which is a competing band with Deep August, which now has a replacement singer who's not as good, you know?
It's the Rob Zombie to his White Zombie. It's it's got to be close.
I am a Deep Autumn baby.
Oh, that's hilarious. And good work with the color matching.
Anyways, yeah, thanks again, Digger. We love you.
Hello, y'all. This is Ray calling from Minnesota. And I just wanted to let you guys know, first of all, Coy, you got me into comic books, so thank you.
Yes.
Responded to a couple of my comments on Instagram and on TikTok. Told me which comic books I should get into. I stopped for a really long time, and then I finally just picked up and got caught up with all of them with the DC and latest Marvel runs. So, A, thank you. And B, my question is, what would you want to see from James Gunn's DC? What comic book run or iteration do you want to see come to the big screen? Whether it should be a TV show or a movie series, which comic book run would you want? Bye.
Ray, I think Ray's a first-time caller. If so, thank you so much for the voicemail, Ray.
He's got a very slight Minnesotan accent, and I watched Fargo for the very first time this week.
Oh, did you really?
I'd never seen Fargo. It's one of those
Wow.
ones that I just like I had missed and I held on to be special, and it was special.
I look forward to
but I
talking
really
about
enjoyed.
that on the Patreon.
Yeah, it was real good. But I really enjoyed that. Like as soon as he had that really sweet accent, I was like, this is both very comforting and uncomfortable because now I associate it with Fargo murder.
Right.
Comics, I'm honored. Not only did you get into comics, but you've committed to the level of like all Marvel and DC. Impressive.
Right.
If I was telling James Gunn what's what, I would say he's kind of doing what I want him to. He's doing the Supergirl run that I think is the best Supergirl.
Right.
He's a big fan of Tom King, who I think writes Batman the most accurately to how I see Batman. So
Right.
I'd say like I'd love to see the I Am Gotham. I'd love to see I Am Bane.
Right.
I think that overall, Mr. Miracle is the character I want to see most.
Yeah.
Like that isn't announced. So if I had absolute power, Jake Gyllenhaal is Mr. Miracle, and then you go like straight into that saga.
I 100% agree. Except no Jake Gyllenhaal.
I cast him for everything he could fit. He's
no.
got such anguish. I love that he's like so funny, but in a sad way. He's got like such a charming sadness.
Find someone new.
I don't trust new.
This is a tough question.
Keep the same movie stuff.
It's a tough question for me because, and I think that's why Mr. Miracle would also be my pick. Is that I don't tend to read I'm like a DC Elseworlds guy. Like all of the DC stuff I read is all the like, here's a series, a limited series that's a 6-issue, that's 10-issue, and then it's done, and it's kind of disconnected from the rest of the universe.
So it's so accessible.
So
you
yeah,
just you don't read a lot.
Right. So I feel like all of the things that I go like, oh, that would be fun, would never work in the DCU because they would be unconnected Elseworlds sort of things. But Mr. Miracle, and then man, give us Animal Man. Give us an Animal Man. Like, yeah. But I think those two, Mr. Miracle is at the top. That's number one for sure. The fact that we're getting an Authority series of any sort, which I think is still going to be a TV series potentially. Like, I'm excited for what he's doing.
And the idea that we can grow that into Elseworlds as long as these do well, like what this can be to rival Marvel and to grow, and the fact that they're so comic loyal so far,
Right.
I'm so excited.
And I think Miracle could work as a film too. I don't think it needs to be
that
a
book
series.
feels so translatable.
I don't think it needs
in
to
a good
be a
way,
TV
not like
series.
it's written to be. It's just like when I read, I'm like, man, this is cinema.
I just meant like for length purposes. Like it doesn't need to be a TV series.
Yeah, that feels like a movie.
Yeah.
Great question, and thanks for calling, man.
Yeah, thanks, Ray.
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. This is Mask Llama of the Legendary Fighting Federation. Just wanted to give a big congratulations to both of you, Coy, for 4 years of the podcast, and to Jake for putting up with Coy for 4 years of the podcast, and Dragon Wagon, 7 years anniversary, right? Oh, man. Crazy times with the network. Some great shows, too, man. Favorite moment, probably... I love hearing about Coy's convention trips. Conventions are just such a wonderful, magical time, and especially from an attending point of view, and hearing about it from someone who's like working it, it's really cool. Those episodes are great. I thought I had more to say, but I don't. Probably because it's 1 a.m. and I'm still messed up by daylight savings time. Anyway,
Fair.
I got to get to sleep. Y'all have a great night. And, again, congratulations. Bye, y'all. I should redo that. I'm not going to redo that. I'm going to go to bed.
Mass Llama.
Oh, I think we just got the Snyder cut of Mass Llama. I love that edit at the end there. That was amazing.
Yeah, I also first off, thank you so much for the kind words. Thanks for being a dedicated listener.
Much appreciated.
Of not just this program, but other stuff on the network. Really, really happy that you found us. With that said, the con episodes, I also really enjoy the con episodes, Coy, because it is a different viewpoint than the con goer that you tend to work. The one thing that's missing, and you know what, this is something I want from you, because listen, you're a happy-go-luckin', that's a word.
Go-luckin'.
A happy turducken, a happy-go-lucky, gotta make sure the client is happy kind of guy, because it is work.
Gotta get paid, Jake. That's the theme of my year. 35, gotta get paid.
But the odds are
there's no flaws. There's no flaws. There's zero negatives.
It's impossible that nobody's been awful. It's impossible that nobody's been absolutely fucking awful. And I want, maybe on the POP, I want some honest fucking stories. I want some honest, this was a fucking nightmare. This panel was shit. These people were fucking awful.
Well, ironically, like the only nightmares I've really had have been like when I was afraid of the audience. Like I've only had one negative panel, and it was because the audience started scaring me for my safety. Like, and that's like not the talent's fault.
Well, I told you to stop going to the Snyder panels.
Like I've definitely I walked through like an alt-right YouTube panel to get to another panel.
Listen, all I'm saying is that more people saw that fucking Moon movie on Netflix than saw Barbie, okay?
Clearly it was as big of a cultural moment as Barbie, because it's been quoted clearly as much.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you know, they ruined the Snyderverse because they wanted to give everything an R just because they're like, well, we don't like it when they fight. No fighting. This Batman versus Superman movie you're making, they shouldn't be fighting, and that's why it was bad.
That's why.
Because the studios didn't like.
Yeah, it's the studio's fault. I mean, you saw that like Rebel Moon song performed at the Oscars because of the cultural impact that movie had. What an incredible experience it was. Also, I really think that when Batman kills it makes him more of the character because you got to study his morality.
By the way, wait. I like the idea that in this alt version, just because of
this is Earth 87,
just because of their politics, if there was some sort of Rebel Moon song, then instead of Slash, it's like Ted Nugent because he's
all of the awful Republican musicians that I definitely I don't feel bad for the right often. But when I do, it's because they have no good art. Like, I don't...
right.
Like, every so often, I'm like, are we making them worse because they don't get to have joy in their day-to-day lives? Because if they think everything is woke, they don't get to enjoy art? Like,
no, that's their own
amount
fault.
of people that literally can't watch movies because they think it's all broken because of politics, because they, don't realize they're the baddies. Like, they don't get good art. And that's the only time I ever feel bad. I'm like, maybe they're getting more evil because they only have Kid Rock.
Maybe.
That's my conspiracy theory about the right. But I really love sharing con stories. I genuinely one, I like to profit, but two, I generally do have 90% good times at these cons. Yeah. And it is something where it's kind of nice for me to share because I don't get the con experience that I did 5 years ago, much less 10 years ago. I remember my first con, I couldn't afford anything but the ticket, so I had to sleep at a friend's place that was 40 minutes outside of San Diego.
Right.
My second con, I still couldn't afford a hotel room, so I slept in the Hall H line. And so, I think it was less than 9 years between sleeping in Hall H and hosting Hall H.
Right.
But now I can't remember that joy of just being in the room because I've done the other side of the stage, and it still feels magical. Don't get me wrong, it's still spectacular, but I can't go to a con again. I can never be on the other side where I'm attending without noticing what's not going right, how I do something different, what I do on the stage.
But that you're explicitly discussing panels.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's what I mainly do at cons. Is
I know, but you just said I can't go to a con anymore is what you said, and I'm trying to help you because I'm sure listeners.
Oh yeah.
Some listeners are like, this fucking dick. You can't walk the floor. You're too fucking good to be with the peons nowadays.
The opposite. I mean, I can't not feel like it's work and assess it. And I love walking the floor when I can, but that's also tricky because it's I'm thinking of the next 10 things I have to do because most of the cons I'm working, not attending. So it's kind of cool to share my side so that I can hear from other people their con experience so I can remember what it was like to not be thinking of this is work. Right. It's when you work at a movie theater, you're not at the movies, you're working.
Sure. Well, thanks again for the call. Thanks for being fantastic, Mass Llama, and
much appreciated.
I hope you got a good sleep, I guess.
Hey there, guys. How you doing? It's Ben from Montreal. I hope everyone in the koi pond is doing stellar. We're able to get to know you more over time. The further down the line you're a fan or you appreciate Coycast, we get to know Coy and Jake a bit better, whether from their spouses or their pets or their interests, right? From comic books to movies to TV series and all that jazz. I'd love to know more, guys. Tell me, what is something that, you love or you collect that we don't get to see on the waves that is Coycast? I'd love to know. Just to get to know you guys a bit more. In any case, thank you. Keep up the good show. Thank y'all. Stay switty and all them jazz hands.
Ben, Ben from Montreal. What's something that
One
we
of the
don't...
OGs. I love the amount of OGs that have called so far. I love
Yeah.
that. Like, this is some of
Fitting.
the greatest hits.
It's fitting. Our own little rogues gallery that we've created here. What is there something that we
Collect.
don't, that you don't, or said that you love or collect? I mean,
Obviously, I talk about my Blu-rays. I talk about my comics. I've talked about vinyl on the POP.
Sure, yeah. You know what? I don't really talk a lot about it on this, but I'm really big into tabletop games and tabletop gaming.
He is the biggest tabletop gamer I know outside of professionals.
And it's not something that I post about a ton of, but man, it's one of my favorite things, and as I get older, I'm noticing that it has become everything that I do is some form of therapy at some point. Like, all of my interests, I'm noticing, have that like twist on them. And man, playing a tabletop game, not only is it like great time to just spend with people that you love, but it's such a great way to like focus your brain on a task that doesn't allow you to be worrying about anything else. Like, one of our favorite games, Alexandra and I, is this game Wingspan. That's really, really popular. Literally just this month, they released a version of the game where it's just like inspired by that. And Wingspan is it's bird themed. That's a new version called Wormspan. That's all dragons, and it's like fantastical and dragons. And she bought it immediately upon announce. We got it like last week. She got it for me for my birthday, and we've been playing that. And man, it's just like, there's something really therapeutic and nice. It's like, it's a puzzle, but it's more engaging than a traditional puzzle is, because it's not as linear. There's options. I don't know. I fucking love tabletop gaming.
You helped me get it more, because it's something where like I don't listen to instructions well, surprising no one. But like once I get through the learning curve, it's magic. And I used to not see the worth and the cost of the learning curve, where I get genuinely frustrated. Right. Like, I'm usually decently adept at most things. So when I'm not good at something to the level I'm not good at understanding instructions, I get frustrated enough. I'm like, and it's not good. It's not a good habit to like not get through that wall. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, I'm not good at something, I'll go over here and do something different. And it helped me in a bunch of ways to go like, this isn't a healthy way to grow in a myriad of directions. At least tabletop, no one's going to die. So like, it's nice to have like, I need to work through the 20 minutes of learning in order to do a thing. Totally. So I think tabletop games are great for patience and like getting through that hump of learning. Collecting wise, I mean, I collect a lot of art. Like, I'm big on, I love hanging art. Like,
but it's mostly comics shit. At least the stuff that I can see.
I mean, like, everything about like, this show's all musicians.
Okay, got it. That's
so like behind me right now is Prodigy, Eminem, Halsey, Childish Gambino, and a monkey listening to headphones. But like I like collecting visual representations of stuff that I enjoy, like that Marie Kondo thing. Like, does this spark joy? Right. I'm very visual, so like I keep a lot of like kitschy stuff. Like I was at a Chipotle a few months back, and I just found the receipt that I had clearly kept. At the Chipotle, I was checking out, and no one said hi. No one said like, hey, big fan. Someone that worked there, I don't know if it was the person checking me out or one of the people in the line, wrote on my receipt, you're great at what you do, and gave me their employee discount. And like, that meant so much to me. Like, it was so kind. And like, I put that with like all of my, that chunk of my life's con banners. Right. So like, I keep like a nostalgia box. Like, so I keep one for like certain chunks of life. So I tend to have like this quarter or this 6 months, and I keep it all together, and then I'll rediscover it like 6 months later and be like, oh, what a joyful thing. And it's usually visual. So I find that I usually keep things like people, writing me something, or like if I go out to dinner and have a really good conversation with someone, I keep that receipt because it'll remind me of the conversation. Right. But I think art sparks that same thing. Like, I don't always have the time to listen to an Eminem or Prodigy or Halsey album, but if I walk through my living room and I glance at that piece of art, it sparks that same
feel connected to it.
Yeah. So I'm a really visual connected person. I think that's my therapy. I get it. I do need. I'm very positive on air, and I'm very positive in life, but it's impossible to stay positive, and it's not healthy to stay positive. And the way I think that I anchor myself in positivity is I try to surround myself with as much of it as possible in every way I can, but anytime I'm in a bad way, let that wash over me, but then find that anchor again. So I need to keep them everywhere, because the world always throws the shit at you. I think it's good to keep the buoy as well.
Right. You're also a gym rat as well.
Oh yeah, I mean I collect gains.
Yeah.
I collect. I'm big on. I think the only thing you can't buy is fitness. Like, I really honestly think, like, even rich people that take steroids and are jacked, you still have to work out to get jacked on the steroids. Like, the steroid doesn't do the working out for you. It does the enhancement of the workout for you.
Right.
So I've always really liked that as a former deeply poor person turned lower middle class person turned middle class person. The one thing that's always been there is I have to earn fitness. So I think it's really important to have things that you have to like fight for. So yeah, I think fitness is from a place of like, you can't buy this, and that's kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. One other thing I got for you, Ben, and it's a good opportunity for me to plug something because I'm always bad at plugging shit. Years and years ago, and you could probably test this, it was probably on the outskirts when we first started the show because of the pandemic, but I spent so much time at the LA Zoo because it was such a huge part of like my personal growth, and like it was another way very similar to tabletop games for me to like shut my brain off. I lived right next to it, and it was incredibly. I mean, you get like a year pass, like $70, and you just go whenever you want. And when it's literally a minute up the road, I mean, what better way to like spend your morning or to get your morning exercise, like your walk or whatever, than to like go walk around with like hang out with the fucking jaguars and the goddamn otters. You know what I mean? Like, and I started bringing my camera at some point and just taking photos and just spending hours just taking photos of animals. And I never really like did anything with any of that shit. I just have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures. So literally just a couple weeks ago, it was suggested to me that like, why don't you just make a different account and post all of those pictures? And I was like, well,
why not?
Well, shit. So I created an account on Instagram called Photozoology, spelt just like the two words photo and then zoology, but one word, @Photozoology. And just a couple weeks ago, I started just posting all of the photos I've had from these are like, some of these are 12 years old, you know, but I have hundreds of them. And so I've created a whole new brand now because why not? I'm a sucker for a logo, right? I created a little logo. You can get hoodies available now at dragonshop.com. But Photozoology, that's where I'm starting to post all of my therapeutic photo sessions from the LA Zoo, and not just the LA Zoo, but other places like that. But
that's dope. I love that.
Yeah, those are saying some more facts about old Coy and Jake.
Yeah, we like other stuff too, but
Fun
mainly
questions.
stuff we talk about.
Well, speaking of collecting, this would be a good time to do this. By the way, in a little while here, we will be spinning to see who our March unpunchable gift horse is, because it is the first episode of March. But before
St. Patty's Day.
But before then,
this is so funny to me.
Coy and I did a little collecting of our own. It came up earlier in the program, but last summer, Coy and I slowly, little by little, opened packs up of 1991 to 92 DC Cosmic trading cards gifted to us by the fantastic Mark Island Heiliger, host of The Hell With This on this very podcast network and a talented filmmaker in his own right. We awarded those cards to a random reviewer. That person never claimed the cards. I still have the cards on my desk. So, Coy, I thought right now on the anniversary episode is a good enough time to respin the wheel. So, I have in my possession a box of 179 out of 180 DC Cosmic cards and $3.
$3 American dollars.
$3 American dollars. There they are. Look, the video. Look, there you go. $3 American dollars right there in front. And I put every single person who ever left us a review on Apple Podcasts into the same, wheel of names, the same name generator we use for our gift horse picks. I'm spinning it right now. Let's see. The new winner of the DC Cosmic cards is James Diesel. James Diesel, James Deziel. James Diesel. Let me see if I can't quickly find that review. James Diesel, thank you so much for review. Here's his review. This was from August 15th of 2023. So just this past August, last summer.
He should still be listening, we hope.
Hopefully still listening so he can claim these fantastic cards. 5 stars. His review is the podcast that saved a birthday and stole our hearts. Been following Coy since Collider Heroes, and this show is the best spiritual successor to that. Coy and Jake have incredible banter, and depth of their differing opinions runs rampant across your earlobes, dear listener. Their new format, alternating between news and deep dive pop culture discussions, will keep you enthralled week in, week out. Producer Jake remains a contrarian, yet never falls into being a cynic, providing amazing banter between the two. Coy remains the best of us in terms of advocates for the comic genre, and it's so refreshing hearing someone do all they can for a medium that I love. Case in point, my brother's birthday was canceled due to the pandemic, but Coy's promotion of Golden Apple Comics and their $50 grab bag promotion helped me deliver a fat wad of graphic novels to him and save the day. For some of the most unique yet justified opinions and takes on the geeky pop culture we so love, face front true believer and hit play, damn it, James Diesel via Apple Podcast US, August 15th, 2023. Thank you so much. That was a fantastic review, James.
That is such a great review.
Man.
So well written. I actually recognize the name. James Diesel definitely still listens because I talked to him on various social medias. So I'm very happy it's going to someone that devout.
Yeah, because
that was a great review.
There's a lot of a lot of names on here that could have gone way differently. It could have been like cool podcast, bro, 5 stars.
Yeah, no, that was a true believer, and I also love that they're from Deep August.
Yes.
So the Deep August review got them good luck.
James, if you're listening, you can find me directly on any social media, or you can join the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, it's at coycast.com, completely free. Or, of course, just send me an email directly to contact@coycast.com, contact@coycast.com. And I will, tell you how you can get your prize here of these DC Cosmic cards. I'm
so stoked. That went the right place. Hell
listen,
yeah.
Sorry, the boy Andrews, who was the original winner, but your expiration, we gave you a long time, a very, very, very long time. No, it's been like 6 months. I think it's been.
It's also terrifying. I'm unprepared for that knowledge. It's like it's almost. You were saying it's almost spring, which means it's almost summer. I think it was too much. Too much.
Year. All right. Well, let's get it back to some hotline calls. What do you say?
Let's do it. Who we got?
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. It's Lewis from Houston, also known as AOPW_figures on Instagram. Calling to wish you guys a happy 4-year anniversary for Coycast. Been listening to this show in particular since I think it was like July 2020. It was the episode where you guys were reminiscing about Comic-Con from that. Like, I guess it was 2020, so we were just thinking of like all your favorite stories of SDCC. Went back, re-listened to all the previous episodes before then. Coy, as I mentioned before, I've been a fan of yours since the Marvel movie news, so I was happy to find one day that you were in a podcast, so I started following. And because of Jake, I also started listening to Pro Wrestling Palskis and been a fan of that too. So thank you guys so much for all that you've done. Also, happy anniversary to Dragon Wagon and everything that you guys are doing for us. We truly appreciate it. All the hard work that you guys put in it. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it's very much appreciated. Look forward to listening to some more. And love you guys. Be safe and stay sweaty. Bye.
Lewis.
Much appreciated.
AOPW_figures. That's the
great stuff
media
over there on Instagram.
That's another thing that I really love. I love that, there's such a crossover in pop culture fandom that people that listen to other shows on the network, whether wrestling shows, other movie shows, have come here. I mean, I talked earlier, the Cosmic Cards came from Mark over on The Hell With This, which is a really great, movie deep dive podcast where it's just every episode is just one specific movie that him and Chad watch and then just dissect, to pro wrestling at Pro Wrestling Palskis. We've got people that started here and went there. We have people that started there and came here. And man, I love the community that we built here. It's definitely something that I am proud of. You did say that we're proud of it, and I am proud of it, and I appreciate it, and I hope it continues to grow. And thanks to people like you, keep sharing this show and other shows with friends of yours,
Yeah, it
And,
really helps. Like when I
yeah.
see posts, and like when you guys tag us, obviously reshare and put them in stories and stuff. But if you have a nerd following yourself or have friends that are nerdy like in the space, it does help because
Absolutely.
just getting the word out is what we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks again, Lewis. Fantastic hearing from you as always. Thanks for being a dedicated listener. I think we got one last hotline call for our celebratory anniversary episode here.
All right.
Happy 4th anniversary, Coycast. This is Doug from Pittsburgh, or Darth Vadad on Discord. Since we're talking about births, like Jake's or Coycast or Dragon Wagon Radio, what would you pick for a favorite comic from the year you were born? I think mine would be Marvel Team Up #1. Not only is it a first issue, but it was a Christmas story that would still have been on the racks in January of 1972 when I was born. Spidey teams up with the Human Torch to go after Sandman, but they discover he just wants to visit his mom for Christmas. It also features the first appearance of Misty Knight. Oh, and by the way, I would like to suggest all future times Alexandra drops some wisdom from the next room should now be known as hotline calls. Happy birthday, Jake and Campfire Jones.
Oh, Darth Vadad, Doug, you're the best. Thank you.
Line calls.
Thank you so much for that. And yeah, comics from the year you were born. Man, this is gonna be a Google. I think I don't know.
I'm immediately Googling.
I have. I know there is one that was a debut the year I was born, and I do know that I enjoy it. Claremont introduced New Mutants in 1983 when I was born.
Oh, okay.
New
okay.
Mutants. Before it was taken over by Liefeld.
Your favorite guest.
That brought us I know that X-Men was a teenage, it's already a teen story.
Them younger.
But yeah, it was like the new era of young teenagers, and that was where we got, magic and, lots of really great characters and great stories out of. So I definitely know that was my birthday year.
My big one is Amazing Spider-Man 300. Happened in '88. The first, the black suit makes his way to Venom.
Right.
The iconic cover, like Todd McFarlane takes over. Like 1988 had. So Todd took over in issue 298, which I believe was spring of '88, and then by summer, the summer event was the black suit turning into Venom. So that's obviously huge. The first issue of Wolverine in a main title outside of his Frank Miller run happened in '88, if memory serves. So like Wolverine #1 that ran until issue 160 something, debuted that year. I think Claremont and Byrne also did some really great stuff, and Silvestri was on X-Men in '88. That was when they were transitioning into Jim Lee. So I think Jim Lee took over at the end of '88, going into '89. Silvestri was on it. This is all hopefully from memory, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, everyone. But so huge stuff in our big two. Like you and I are such Spidey X-Men guys.
Right, yeah.
Sorry that our references are always those, but I don't memorize Superman.
I might be off on the years because it might be '82, it might be '84. Could go a year to or from when I was born, but there was fantastic Daredevil from that era, the Man Without Fear era.
Oh yeah.
Bullseye was at his best. God, I can't think of who the writer was for all of that stuff. I'm sure it was one of the GOATs, and I just confused them all. But yeah, that's a really tough question.
I love that. Oh, Death in the Family. Death in the Family happened in '88. Starlin killed Robin in '88.
Oh shit.
So '88
we both have a Robin thing, because also '83 was the year that what's his face was the second Robin. The first they debuted the second Robin.
Not Tim Drake.
My brain.
Dick Grayson's obviously the first.
Yes.
Not Stephanie Brown, not Tim Drake.
No, that guy. The other one.
Yeah, the one that is more known than the ones we're naming. Not Damian Wayne. I have every other Robin in my head.
I know. Me too. It's one of those things where the only reason you can't come up with it is because you're trying.
Forest for the trees.
Is because you're trying. Oh, god dang it.
This is so funny.
This is not being edited out. I'm leaving all of this in.
You guys got to endure this with us.
Everybody is Jason Todd.
Jason Todd, the one that got killed, the Red Hood.
Everybody is screaming, screaming at us.
So he was introduced your year, and then he was killed mine.
Wow, Jason Todd, yeah.
So those 5 years between us, the generation gap we talk about, is exactly one Jason Todd.
So I'm a Jason Todd older than you.
I love that our generation gap can be determined as a time, and that time is Jason Todd.
Almost. I wonder what months these were.
I wonder. So funny. You and I are a Jason Todd apart in age. Roughly one Jason Todd would be our generation gap. That's such a great. I love that marker.
We're a Robin 2.
You know what they say? Like the asteroid is like 4 washing machines big. Like I feel like the comic version of that is like how what's your age difference? How about a Jason Todd?
That's the best way to measure time, in my opinion, from here.
Oh, that's so good. All right. Well, that was a great question. I love our answers. They're very on brand for the show.
Thank you so much, Darth Vadad. Another fantastic, dedicated listener. Thank you for being a great part of the community, for sharing your story and your journey here, not just on the waves, but also on the Discord. We absolutely love you. Thank you for how much you support us.
Thank you for everything.
In every way. Yeah, you're the fucking best. But you know what? You might not be the fucking best this month. We'll see how this goes, because it is the first episode of the month. So regardless of whether it's an anniversary or not, we need to select our official unpunchable gift horse of the month for the month of March. If you don't know what this is, we'll crawl out from under that Dwayne Johnson and head on over to patreon.com/Coycast. Patreon.com/Coycast. Each and every month, all of our gift horse tiered patrons get entered into the monthly contest here. And the winner gets not just your name and lights in the Discord, if you happen to be there, but you get an item of your choosing from the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com. There is tons of fantastic gear there, tons of great designs, really high quality stuff. I'm wearing the most cozy Dragon Wagon hoodie right now. It is just like, oh, it's just such a little snug bug in a rug.
He wants winter to stay so bad, he's wearing like it's happening.
So you get an item of your choosing from that shop. You also get to select something for Coy and I to watch and review over on the POP. So this is our little way of giving back. We know that supporting the show is a sacrifice for everybody. It's hard-earned cash. Let's be honest with it. You work hard for that cash, and you have a ton of outlets. So many outlets. So many places you can put a few of those bucks every month. And we really appreciate everybody who throws a few of them our way. So this is our little way of giving back. Without further ado, I have put all the names of the eligible gift horse in the wheel for the month. It is spinning, and the official unpunchable gift horse for the month of March 2024 is Ken Lutz. Ken Lutz. Lutz. Maybe it's Lutz. I don't know. Ken Lutz. Ken Lutz. Ken Lutz could mean like he is a person who loots. He plays the loot.
Oh, he's a robber.
Ken Lutz. Oh, yeah, Ken Lutz very well.
Ken Lutz could steal things efficiently like a prowler. Ken Lutz.
Thank you, Ken, for your support of the program. I'm looking through the history. Ken Lutz, first time gift horse.
I feel like we'd remember the name Lutz or Lutz because I dated a girl named Katie Lutz, and I've never known a Ken Lutz.
I lived in Lutz, Florida, or Lutz, Florida for a little. Ken, thank you so much for your continued support of the program. Keep your eye out on the email you have associated with your Patreon. That is how I will contact you to let you know how to claim your winnings. Thanks to everybody who continues to support the program. 4 years in the fucking can.
We graduated. I keep saying it. Feels good.
As Duger said, 4 more years. 4 more years.
We have a bachelor's in Coycast now. We've done it. We've gotten this far.
Does that mean that we're not allowed to go for a third term though? Is it? Do we have to?
No. We gotta get a master's now. We got a master Coycast.
Oh, I was going.
Maybe get a doctorate.
I was doing a presidential analogy. And you were doing a school analogy.
That's true. I'm more realistic about our reach.
We're mixing our metaphors there.
I'm also more our intelligence level. We can speak articulately, so I wouldn't say we're presidents. We actually can form words.
Articulately?
Did you
just not articulate?
Sometimes irony writes
I couldn't
itself.
say it the second time. It couldn't.
Sometimes it writes itself. That said, I'm very excited to do our patron pod because we are finally covering some stuff. We're catching up on some gift horse picks. So if you are not yet a patron, that drops on Friday. So you got all sorts of tiers and options if you want to support the show. And one of them is the unpunchable gift horse tier. And we're catching up on those. This Friday drops a new unpunchable pick.
It should be said, in addition to 4 years of regular main feed podcasts, this week is our 180th patron-only pod. 180 is this week's patron-only pod. And when I tell you that library is just enormous, and the second you become a patron of the appropriate tier,
all of it,
you unlock it all. You get keys to the kingdom.
It is truly a staggering amount because we talk about it all the time, but at minimum, we do 3 things each. Like that is on the smaller side.
Sure.
There are weeks we do 10. And so 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 180 is 600 plus 6 times 80 is 80, 160, 240 times 2, 480, 600 times plus 480, 1,080 pieces of art discussed minimum.
Guys, I don't know how to describe this. I don't know how to describe this, but as he was doing that, I saw numbers appearing in front of him and sliding back and forth like in a beautiful mind. Like that shit. I don't know who's doing your visual effects, because that was outstanding. Coy.
This is why I do YouTube shows, you guys, because every so often I do math and magic literally happens in front of me.
Fucking, you're like Jubilee.
Sparks with their numbers.
From that failed television show where they made her a white woman.
Oh, it's a choice. Certainly a choice. X-Men, by the way, drops on the 20th. So by the time we record again, the new X-Men show will have aired at least
next Wednesday.
I think 2 episodes.
Next Wednesday. So it'll be a week from today is the first episode of X-Men 94.
So when we record again the following Monday, X-Men 97.
I was like, I forgot what year it was. I was like 94? No, 97. 98? X-Men 92.
When was it? What was our childhood? So yeah, X-Men 97 drops before we record again. So next time Jake and I discuss, we'll be talking about X-Men 97.
Yeah,
we're both very stoked.
I'm gonna watch that. I'm doing that thing where I'm like, I don't have the time to rewatch all of X-Men, but that's my inkling, right?
I want to rewatch at least the last season.
So I think
I'm going to try to watch the last season.
I was going to say I might watch even just the last 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, because I know it picks up right there.
But those seasons are long. They're 20 episode seasons. So even the last season,
the first thing that covered the X-Men as a soap opera. They're long.
Yeah. So I think even I might just do the last 6, because that's 2 hours, 20-minute episodes.
Yeah.
That's like a movie. Last 6 episodes. Maybe I'll do first and last of seasons. I don't know. The reality is
I might at least watch the pilot.
Sure. Which I did not that long ago. I actually did rewatch that not that long ago because I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago I had the wild hair at my ass to watch them all. Start over. And I think I only got to episode 4. And not that I didn't want to continue, but there's so many things that we're watching at all times. It's too much input.
I haven't even rewatched the Batman animated series, and that's a goal of mine. I have that on Blu-ray, and it's just no time.
Yeah. Yeah, I have all of that on Vudu, I think, digitally. But
they're so beautifully scanned, too. They scanned the original black paper they were animated on, so the Blu-ray is crisp blacks. It's dope. That said, we'll be back in 2 weeks to discuss X-Men, and then before you know it, it's going to be summer, and Deadpool's going to be out, so Deadpool marketing is going to start ramping up. Comic-Cons are around the corner. Chaos is coming. One of the events Jake and I actually became friends at was WonderCon. And that is happening in 2 weeks out here. So I'll be discussing WonderCon, which I have a panel on the 31st.
I'm real sad. I'm sad.
But I'm bummed Jake's missing that.
I got real WonderCon FOMO this year. Probably more so than other, because I've skipped Comic-Con before, the big one. But WonderCon is so easy. It's so easy, and I'm like, oh man, it was just I'm bummed about.
Just pop over. It's 40 minutes, and you're like, all right.
I'm bummed about not being there this year for that.
Next year, WonderCon, Jake will be back.
Oh, now you made me sad on my birthday.
Oh, I broke him on his birthday. Well, no, but your next year you'll be back for WonderCon, and we'll have a Coycast panel again.
All right.
We'll have a 5-year anniversary panel.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Got him back. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode, you lovelies. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all the patrons. Please do remember that you can reach us at contact@coycast.com. If you, for whatever reason, don't want to have your voice in the voicemail, which you should, and you can always call in at 818-794-0722. Thank you all for the amazing last 4 years. Excited for the next 4.
Absolutely. And take this opportunity, if you haven't already, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also respond to individual episodes and leave comments on Spotify now. I will remember to occasionally peep those out and give some feedback on the show to pertinent questions or responses. Also, the shop, great way to support the show is the shop over at dragonwagonshop.com. There are a ton of great Coycast themed merchandises. Merchandise.
Yeah, we got the merchandises.
How do you word?
I think merchandise is plural for itself, like platypi. No, that's platypi. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, check out the shop. Tons of great stuff there. You can find the links to everything at Coycast.com.
Thank you to all our patrons. Thank you to all our listeners for these 4 years. We'll be back in 2 weeks talking about some X-Men. Until then, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you as always to Comic Books for existing. We'll see you soon.
Hey there, my name is Wingman Steve.
And I'm Chris.
Chris what?
Yeah, I'm not saying it.
Come on, man, say it. It's cool.
I'm Chris 183.
Yeah, Chris 183. That's cool. What do you call a cow that plays an instrument?
I have no idea.
A musician.
Anyways, Steve and I are both 30-something dads.
But we are super cool, awesome 30-something dads who love to nerd out over the power-chorded glory that was 90s and early 2000s pop-punk music.
We are both huge fans of the pop-punk genre, even though nowadays we're pure Baby Shark.
Join us on High School Never Ends, the Pop-Punk Dad podcast where we'll discuss, debate, and revel in a music genre that we feel deserves much more love.
At least once we get the kids to bed.
It's High School Never Ends at hsnepod.com and wherever podcasts are found.
It's Dragon Wagon.